All right, well, let me say hello and welcome to each and every one of you. Doug here with thelincolnlist.com. I want to welcome you to the weekly edition of Stock Market Mutterings, where I always say I'll do my very best to take a grope in the murkiness, try to make some sense out of this market here for you, try to provide you with some quality trade setups, and I do hope by the time it's all said and done at the end of the week, you've made a little bit of money. Now, if you guys need some help with your trading, take a moment, visit the link. Ever since I moved here into the new office, I'm live streaming all day, just like I am right now. So, if you need help with your trading, right there's the link. Click, join us at any time. So I was out for 2 days, and I just have one question. What'd you do to the market, man? What did you do to the market while I was gone? We were just kind of rolling along, and then I come back, it's like, whoa, what happened? Anyway, just a kind of a brief talk about that. I had an opportunity. I don't take very many days off during the week, but I had an opportunity to climb Mount Whitney. If you guys know what that is, it needs no introduction. If you don't, let's just say it's a freaking beast. It is a beast of a mountain, the largest one here in the lower 48s. And I tell you what, it was a journey. And that's kind of what I want to talk about here just real quick. A lot of the stuff we do in life is about achievement, fulfillment, and it's about the ride. It's about the journey you getting there. Kind of like trading is, it's not just making money, it's about the whole journey it took you to make money. And this thing was just like one epic adventure, We started going up there, and there's this 6.0 earthquake that just literally removes the whole face of a mountain, just knocks the whole thing down and creates this dust storm that looks like it's snowing outside, and it closes the road. So the person I'm hiking with, we have to go 3.5, 4 miles to the trailhead. We don't get there until like really late at night. It's like a 5-hour drive from San Diego. So we hike all the way up there and decide, well, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. We're not going to start hitting the trail. We'll just take a nap like on these picnic tables right there, like right on the trailhead. So it's just pouring down this dust and won't stop. So we have to seek refuge by crawling in the back of this pickup truck, just in the back of this pickup truck, and kind of covering up with a tarp. I mean, it was pretty radical. Plus, it was getting kind of cold. So we sleep there for like 2 hours, hit the trail at 3, and the weather starts to warm up. We get up to about 12,000 feet where our base camp is, and it just starts, raining down hailstorms. We just kind of have to hunker down in a tent and just kind of ride this storm out. It's throwing these pellets everywhere. It was insane. And then the temperature drops to like 30 degrees. We get up the next morning at like 3 to start the summit. The rocks are covered with ice. The snow that's still on the mountain is like rock hard. And some of these traverses are just insane and dangerous. And it was just a crazy trip like that. And then on the way back, everybody just kind of gets stuck in the parking lot. They can't get out, and everybody's trying to get down to the bottom of the hill. So we just decided, look, we're just going to taxi people up and down the hill because there's no sense in having to hike that whole thing and then turn around and walk 6, 7, 10 miles or what it is to sit. It's just nuts. It was just crazy, but I'm glad to be back. So I come back 2 days and I see this market. It's like, man, it's getting a little weak. So I want to get serious for a second as we talk about this. We're at a pretty important, we talked about this 2 weeks ago. We are at a very important spot here. This is the SPY daily I've got down here. We're at an important spot again. We're kind of clustered back around that 200-day moving average. So I really think tomorrow morning, Monday's trading session is going to be extremely important to how the rest of this week plays out. This is a highly defendable and a highly emotional area for the market itself. So if we're talking about the SPY, we have the 200 and the $300 mark. That 300 mark, which was one time at a resistance level and an emotional level. And then, of course, we have the 200-day moving average. If you're watching this for the first time, not quite sure what that is, just real quickly, the easiest way for me to explain that to you is it sort of crosses the line between good and evil. If you start getting under the 200-day moving average, stuff has a tendency to get a little bit dirty. And we might be at this spot and see some sort of corrective measures that take us down towards an area of support that we saw somewhere around May. You got a little bit of a gap support right there, roughly in this area that I'm highlighting here in the later parts of May, in the 295s, 294s, and that's kind of like pretty close there where we were on the 15th. We had a little selling that got down in there. So pay close attention. I think what's important here for everyone to understand is that you are at a critical level here in the market. It needs to be defended. If you're looking for that bullish case, the bulls need to defend this, need to hold this, and need to hold it early. Otherwise, we're probably going to see some more aggressive selling that takes us down into that. If that's able to establish itself and able to hold itself, then maybe we start working 308s, 310s, or maybe a little bit higher. But I think you're going to spend a little bit of volatility early on in the week trying to establish those trading levels as we progress later in the week. So we'll see. That's all I wanted to do. I was going to highlight where that thing is. Now let's kind of talk about this Facebook here. I mean, it's got the attention, and this could be the start of something that got nasty. I'm not going to go into detail, but most of you should already know the mass exodus of advertisers boycotting this for reasons which is understandable. And the stock took it right on the chin. I mean, this is one hell of a sell down there that just got totally smoked. Now, when a stock does something like this, especially a big name like Facebook, you don't necessarily just run right in with this news here, but I would for sure and am for sure looking at possible landing zone for this stock. Once they get everything ironed out, this could turn out to be a buying opportunity. And we discussed this a lot. And if you guys are really looking to make the big bucks in the market, you're going to have these specific events that take place throughout the year. And you're not going to get a second or third chance of it. So like the 30% correction that we had when coronavirus started, we may not get another opportunity to take advantage of corrections like that. When you have sort of things like BA that goes through all of its troubles and it sells off several hundreds of dollars a share, you may never get an opportunity to enter it at lower prices. And this really talks to all of those new traders out there, aspiring traders. You guys are coming in here. When you're talking about where big money is made, it's taking advantage of these times the market gives you a layup. It gives you an opportunity. Because if you don't get crashes, if you don't get corrections, if you don't get these hits where these stocks sell off aggressively, then you're always going to be overpaying for these stocks. And that's not what we want to do. We want to get good value and good money on these. So to make this easy in my explanation, you got a couple of spots right here. You got a double bottom that was around the 14th. I think that's roughly looking at about 202s. And then you have the 200-day moving average right here, which is at 197. It seems kind of far away right now, being at 212s, but went down $20 Friday. So here's what I'm thinking. If this thing can move down into that level, just kind of slow it down. They'll come out with some fluffy PR. Look, we're gonna change our bad behavior. We want you guys back. Advertisers start flowing back in. Stock comes back up. I'd love to see this down here. Now, this isn't going to be a trade I'd consider as just like day trade, because there's day trades and swing trades. I'd actually swing trade this one. So I'm just throwing that one out here as an opportunity. Now, when we talk about day trades, we're just looking for scalpy value right now. I don't think you're in a situation where the market just yet has given you the signal that you can just sit on these things. So I want to kind of go down the list here. I first want to talk about Twilio, because Twilio continues to just deliver as many opportunities as you can get. Now, when I look at these, we talk about the checkmark pattern. You guys want that, send me an email, say, give me that checkmark pattern webinar. I'll gladly send it to you guys that I did about how this works, why this works, and so on. But these bullish stocks that continue to grind it out regardless of what's happening into the market, I don't have specific targets, numbers, or look at anything like that. I sort of just kind of approach the day and say, if one of these big names pull, and when I say pull, it's a slang term for selling off, just come down a little bit in the price, I'm interested in buying. So if you kind of look at this day right here, you have a nice pullback intraday where you get some consistent selling that lasts maybe 30 minutes to 1 hour in this area. Channels downward, reaches an area of support that goes back into here, and then you start to get these upward moves. It starts to bounce, and then from there, it just gradually, that marks the low of the day. So a lot of these stocks, when they do sell off like this, barring a constant meltdown from the market, usually the lows get sunk in around the 40-minute mark to the 1.5 hour mark, somewhere around there, about an hour, 2 hours. Let's say an hour, 2 hours into the session. You'll start to see these things sink in the lows. So like this case, it becomes the low of the day and then eventually grinds itself back up. I love this trade. I think it's a great trade for everybody. You have Splunk, and it all begins with really strong daily. I mean, look at Splunk, look at Twilio, very, very similar daily charts. So, if you get an opportunity just like this, I mean, it's the same chart. You're coming in here, check marking right back up, setting that low in between the first 1 to 2 hours of the trading session. That's a good one. You don't have to make it any more complicated than that. So I like these two. I like Twilio. I like Splunk. And I'm going to stay with some of these that I have talked about too as well. Docu, I know it's really, really high. This thing's been trending for months. But when you're in these types of stocks, will benefit from longer quarantine periods, things like Netflix, things like Docu, things like ZM. They're going to benefit from that longer quarantine procedures. So they're bullish. So I take these bullish charts like this, and if they pull back, I want to buy those. I want to buy those rather than trying to dip buy something that's during a massacre. So rather than trying to go into buying Facebook right now, which could work, rather than going in and buying Facebook right now and then hoping it turns around, or while it's still in that volatile news cycle, is much more difficult of a trade and more risky of a trade than just picking one of these grinders and just trying to buy the dips and use your stops. Just a little advice there. So you got ones there, just say Docu, Trello, and Splunk, all really solid. Also want to kind of revisit W Day. We talk about this one a lot, came out of earnings, and ever since earnings, it's been kind of in a box. Let's call it the box, the W Day box. Just sitting here channeling sideways, really building long pieces of consolidation, but you can see the resistance right here. If this can break through the resistance, which is like 190 to 191 here, then you're pretty free to go all the way back to at least the 202s where the highs were from a few months back. But it's really solid formation. And I always say barring any, some people ask why you say barring any unforeseen circumstances. Do you expect something? It's like, no, you never know. But Facebook is a good example since we're talking about this. If you're trading in the market, this is something that's always an element that we all have to deal with. There are things that are out of our control, such as these news cycles. You don't know when and how the market's going to react to it. I mean, we've seen bad news stories turn out to be really good, and not hurt stocks that bad. Then you have these ones that don't sound so bad, then they really make a big impact on the stock. You just never know. And that's why I always say barring, we don't know what's going to happen from now until the market opens. So put that one there on the list. And maybe even just for you day traders out there looking for some scalpies, you got Etsy here that could... I can't believe I'm talking about Etsy. Like a Momo stock is arts and crafts. That's what we've become. Arts and crafts. Oh God, man, can you see serious? So I'm going to leave it at that. Here's going to be my plan going into early Monday. You're at a very important juncture here in this market. It's got to defend this, and that's going to set the tone, I think, for the remainder of how this week plays out. So we start right there. If we're scalping and we're looking for quick bounces, I want to stick with these strong names that continue to just shrug everything off. And that's things like ZM, Docu, Twilio, TWLO, Splunk, SPLK. You can even put ACOM, AKM in there, Etsy, ETSY, Workday, WDAY, Peloton. How could I forget my baby Peloton? I love it. It's like my favorite stock this year, Peloton. These are all solid buys on pools because they have relative strength against the market. When the market goes down a lot, they don't go down as much. When the market goes up, they go up a whole lot. I mean, they're a really good basket of stocks to trade. And of course, you have your FANG names, your Momo stocks that we love to trade a lot, like the NVIDIAs, like the Netflixes. Those are still available. I also want to pay attention to Facebook as possible settle zone, maybe next week, maybe later in this week, I don't know. I want to pay attention to maybe putting a longer term play into something like that if it sets up just the way that I like it. And I think, again, going back to the beginning here, the most important thing is to be looking for this market and how it reacts early. So anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it right there. I hope you're enjoying your weekend. Hope you're ready to trade tomorrow. You need help, reach out to me, support@thelincolnlist.com. Until the next market mutterings, trade well.